let's go ahead. Let's get into our fantasy focus and rankings. Dive into some of the notable injuries. All of these questionable, but except for Justin Jefferson, just got activated. Just have him on here just as a FYI. He's probably not going to be playing for a little bit still because they have a window for him to actually get going, but he is doubtful. He's questionable, but I'm listing him as doubtful on our side of things because he's not going to most likely play for a couple weeks. But David Montgomery at the top. I mentioned him while we were talking about the Lions. Everyone is saying, especially some of the beat writers in Detroit, that this is the healthiest they've ever been, i.e. David Montgomery should be back, and Chairman confirmed that notion as well. Kyler, questionable. He's been missing time all season. He could potentially come back this week.
He's coming back this week.
So
Fields is doubtful, by the way.
Fields downgraded to
Fields
doubtful. Okay.
He's according to the presser I watched, Eberflus stumble through today. He's doubtful, but also it's like a 51-49. But also he's not playing tomorrow. Also, but it was like watch that 2-minute clip. He just talks in all different directions. No idea how to handle a press conference.
He was a weird dude. TJ Hawkinson questionable, but he should be playing as well. Debo feels like he's getting closer to coming back this week.
He was a full participant,
so he should be good. Drake London on the questionable list. He is. I don't think he's been doing a lot at practice this past week. So keep an eye on Drake London.
Back at practice, but he didn't look 100.
Yeah,
so that one's definitely still in the questionable stuff.
And same thing with Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase, number 9 on this, is in the similar.
I love how you spelled Jamar Chase. Jamar.
Jamar. Yeah, I like to
I think it's Ja. It's like Ja.
I like to put a little spin on things every so often.
Sure.
Mix it up a little bit. Let's spell
Jamar.
people. I mean, we had Austin Eckler for a couple weeks on our stream, and it was perfect. Yeah, so it makes sense. And then Dameon Pierce, questionable for the Houston Texans. He's a little bit banged up. So we'll see. I mean, he's been kind of a limited participant as well, but I assume he's probably going to play.
I mean, whatever. If he plays.
I mean, whatever.
If he doesn't, he doesn't.
It's like Rocky. If he dies, he dies.
I also think you spelled his name wrong, but it's fine.
It's fine. Who? I mean,
no big deal.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like you said, Dameon Pierce doesn't matter. No.
Yeah, he didn't practice today, so not a great sign.
Let's see. What's up, Joker? How we doing, my friend? Finally cracked the ice cream after getting my wisdom teeth out today. Keep close. You're getting all through all the teeth stuff, right? Between all the things, horror story still haunts me to this day. All right, let's dive into our quarterbacks. Let's talk about our top 10 list. Josh Allen leading the pack here at number 1 against Denver's defense. So feels right at that spot. Joe Burrow, Dak, Justin Herbert, and Lamar Jackson ring in the top 5. CJ Stroud, we talked a lot about earlier, coming in at number 6 on our list. Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Sam Howell cracks the list. We haven't seen him in the top 10 recently. And then Trevor Lawrence going up against that San Francisco D. But you have Sam Howell and CJ on this bottom half.
Yeah, I mean, CJ, we kind of talked about, dude's just been balling.
Yeah.
And had a hell of a week. I had to plug and play him last week, which ended up being terrific because Goff maybe on a bye. I don't remember who was. I think it was Goff. Sam Howell, listen, they pass the more. Washington passes the ball more than any other team in the NFL. So Sam Howell all of a sudden starts to become relevant in the fantasy scene because he's getting a ton of attempts. Listen, sacks don't count against you as quarterback. So he's going to throw for yards and probably some touchdowns. So he's very viable in fantasy. Dak at 3. I think we talked about this a little bit like on Sunday show, but let's remove Super Cooper from our minds, guys, because Dak has been balling recently.
In fact, Super Cooper's probably going to play next week.
Last 3, Super Cooper might play on Sunday. But Dak averaging over 300 yards, over 9 per attempt in his last 3 games against Philly and the 2 LA teams. Dude has been balling out. So he gets into the 3 spot in a week that, some of our usual suspects being Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, Tua, all on bye this week. Some guys get to move up.
Yeah, if you're looking at total fantasy points on the season, you got Sam Howell and CJ Stroud. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th and 8th, QB7 and QB8 on just fantasy points straight up. I mean, they average between 17 to 19 points each so far this season on bad teams. That just goes to show you, like, fantasy football is a different beast. Like, these kids are like balling.
Now, Chris, do you know where Sam Howell ranks on quarterback on passing yards for the season?
I don't.
I think he's 2.
He is number 2.
Is he number 2?
Only behind Tua,
which is wild. So,
like I said, but he also I think he's number 1 in attempts. So
he's also number 1 in sacks.
Yep, they throw the ball a lot.
Yep. But yeah, CJ Stroud, number QB3 on average points per game this season for fantasy perspective. So crazy stuff. Jared Goff also on here as well. So Jared Goff going against the Chargers in kind of a home game, but he is ranked number 7 on here. Not a name we typically see every single week, but by the way, F the Rams too. Okay. They cut your boy. That's why. Didn't the Rams brought in Carson Wentz?
Yep, Carson Wentz is a Ram.
Yeah,
they did.
So that happened this week too. Carson Wentz sighting in LA. So
and Geno made that list after an awful week last week. Geno Smith makes the list because people can get healthy against Washington.
Everybody gets healthy against Washington, right?
Not everybody. The Giants didn't. Patriots couldn't.
Let's get into running backs. Christian McCaffrey coming back off of a bye, getting a matchup against the Jags, comes in at number 1. Breece Hall, Austin Eckler, Alvin Kamara, who's been just putting up points recently in previous weeks, has been just stacking fantasy points. Travis Etienne as well rounds out number 5. Tony Pollard, Taylor, Henry, Jacobs, and Mixon on the other end of this list.
Yeah, I mean, Kamara, as you mentioned, quietly, and it seems like he's been in the league for forever for whatever reason. And he's got a pretty favorable matchup against that Minnesota defense that you love so much this week. So he's a solid plug and play. Jonathan Taylor getting back into himself, getting the touches. He's in Germany this week. As the Colts face off. We didn't even mention there's another Germany game.
Keep that in mind.
Start. So if you have fantasy players on the Colts or Patriots, which I imagine the only one you would have is Jonathan Taylor from either team, make sure you have that all squared away before that game starts 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Sunday morning. Not quite the Germany game they had last week, but, they get another game back-to-back weeks. And yeah, other guys are kind of like, I mean, you look at the last 3 on that list, it's kind of your aging veterans that are like productive, but maybe not sexy. I mean, but still can put up numbers. Breece Hall I think is really, really good. Travis Etienne's obviously had a pretty good year, but he's going against the Niners defense, so we'll see how he can do in that situation. But overall, it's like clearly, I mean, there's McCaffrey separates himself from the field.
Yep.
And then there's guys we left off this list that could be, David Montgomery coming back, probably could be in here. If, Arthur Smith ever gave Bijan Robinson the ball, he could be in here. Saquon, if they had any sort of offense, could be in here. Aaron Jones is another guy that, potentially could be in here.
I give Bijan the ball. I give him the ball, we can run jet sweeps with their backup tight end.
I mean, Jonnu Smith is an elite at jet sweeps.
Well, and another one here that's not so like we don't have Jahmyr Gibbs, or so we had Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, who David Montgomery's coming back. So you have a little bit of a split there because David Montgomery loves to get in that red zone. He's one of the better red zone running backs in the NFL. So you take a little bit away from Jahmyr Gibbs in some of those aspects. I think they go hand in hand really nicely together, but like at the same time, I think it's going to be tempering your expectations from what Jahmyr Gibbs has been getting, which for me, I have him on a couple teams. So yeah, like it's like bittersweet, right? But yeah, just keep an eye on some of those returning players that we just talked about in our injury report. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, and Travis Etienne, those are the only three running backs averaging at least 20 points, fantasy points per game on the season, outside of Devon A-Chain, who's on IR. So, I mean, active players that are playing this weekend, only three fall into that category. All right.
No, Cuban, his practice window just opened, so he is not going to be active this week.
So no, he won't do anything.
Sorry, Cuban. I mean,
you're screwed. Have a nice day.
Thanks for asking, though, Cuban. It just comes in, asks, nope. Sorry, tough luck. Love you, Cuban. Wide receiver rankings here. I spelled Jamar Chase correctly on this one. He comes in at number 6, but Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra comes in at number 3 for the Detroit Lions. You got Keenan Allen and Adam Thielen. Keenan Allen is pretty much the only main target there in Los Angeles, so it makes sense that he's going to just get targeted like crazy. Jamar Chase, Ayuk for the 49ers. T. Higgins, Mike Evans, and DK Metcalf. Metcalf's been, doing some nice things recently too. So that's what we have here for wide receiver rankings.
Yeah, highlighted here, CeeDee Lamb. We talked about Dak going off. Well, CeeDee's been his best friend, including 11 catches, $191 last week against the Eagles, $158 the week before, 117 the week before. He's been balling out as Dak has been balling out these last 3 weeks. I mean, it's hard. You look at a matchup against the Giants, you're like, oh my gosh, they should have monster games. But then if things are already out of hand at halftime, maybe that, limits what some of these guys can do. So we'll see there. I want to talk about Keenan Allen real quick. Did you see Keenan Allen's press conference after the game Monday night?
I did not.
No.
Dude. He apparently he sprained an AC joint in his shoulder years ago, years ago, and it never got surgery for it. And now his shoulder is like a triangle on top. It's just this large point where it's
seriously
it's weird looking. Yeah, check it out. It's kind of weird, kind of gross. Yeah, you talked about DK. And I talked about how Geno might get right against Washington. I think DK could have a monster game. T. Higgins here at 8. And if Jamar Chase is out, Jamar Chase is here at 6. But if Jamar Chase is out, I think T. Higgins moves up even higher than 8 and moves into that top 5 because he was the main target on Sunday night for Joe Burrow. And he finally looks like he's getting his rhythm back and is healthy. So he'd be higher on this list if Jamar Chase is out.
Yeah, 100% agree. T. Higgins was an absolute monster last week. Wide receivers are very consistent. Where we see tight ends and running backs where there's a clear top echelon, it all just kind of cascades down. And there's a lot of receivers that are doing a lot of good things. But These are some of the matchups that we'd like this week for wide receiver ranks. Tight ends, Mark Andrews. By the way, I saw something on social media where Mark Andrews, did you know he has like diabetes or whatever, where he has to check? I saw it, which is kind of crazy. It's like, good for him. He's like they have a monitor to check his blood sugar level that is relaying that data to his wife, his agent, the coaches. And then every time he comes off the field, he checks his blood sugar levels and everything. I'm like, damn, that's...
Shouldn't be able to communicate with people outside the team during a game like that. That's gross.
True. Cheating. See, this is what I'm talking about. Banned. Now he's banned.
Well, now you're banned.
But anyways, Mark Andrews coming in here at number 1. Sam Laporta, Hawkinson, Kincaid, and Kittle. Kittle's interesting because he's coming back off a bye, but there's a lot of weapons coming back. But still, we're talking about tight ends, there's not a lot.
Favorite red zone target for
there's not a lot else after
and then
that.
After that we have Mormon Tebow.
Taysom Hill, who's been,
you talked about him, Chris.
He's been throwing touchdowns, he's been running for touchdowns, he's been catching touchdowns, he's been he's a touchdown machine since week 3. I said it earlier, same amount of fantasy points as Travis Kelce, which Travis Kelce on bye this week is
Blood sugar gate.
Blood sugar gate. Yeah, exactly. So Taysom Hill's been climbing the ranks here, number 6 on our list. Evan Ingram, Dalton Schultz. Then we got Trey McBride and Jake Ferguson rounding out this list.
I think listen, Taysom Hill, I think, you talked about all the points he's got. He's got 140 yards receiving on the season. But just through 9 games, 140 yards, that's a solid 15 yards per game, Chris, receiving. But actually, he averages 28 yards on the ground. So you combine those two, and I guess it's decent with 4 touchdowns. And then some sprinkles and some passing yards as well. I think he's got 70 on the season, passing wise. So just, a plug and play guy that'll somehow score a touchdown for you in a tight end department that's just struggled all year. Trey McBride coming into his own without Zach Ertz. You get Kyler Murray back. We'll see if the timing is right there, but I just think he's going to get a lot of looks and a lot of touches. And Jake Ferguson, I want to highlight here. Jake Ferguson's been I feel like the Cowboys, they lost Dalton Schultz and they haven't really missed a beat at the tight end position. Jake Ferguson's been playing well, doing almost the same things as Dalton Schultz has been doing in the past. So shout out to Jake Ferguson, and way to go, Cowboys, to not to let a guy go knowing it's going to be okay. They have a hard time doing that at sometimes.
Yeah. Some interesting matchups here, and I think this list is right where it needs to be. I think that Hawkinson and Andrews could have some decent weeks, except for you got I think of New Orleans defense. We'll see how. I feel like TJ is going to be a safety blanket for Dobbs, but do they take him away? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one there, but I think he's going to have plenty of targets to try to, help out Dobbs. Oh, sorry.
That was a 3.
That was a 3.
I'm watching the same thing. They called it 2. I thought it was 3.
I saw that in the corner of my eye. I was like, that was a play. Michael Porter Jr. looked like a 3. This is a close game, by the way, guys. Let's get to the defense. We might need to get through the defense and jump into this game real quick. Defense, special teams rankings.
PJ with the block. Sorry, I know I'm going off on other things, but fast break bucket.
And no, okay, no and one. There you go, 80-81. Man, all right, let's get through this defensive rankings. I think we finish out this game. Cowboys. What else do you have to say? They're playing the Giants.
I highlighted them because the Cowboys might be the number one fantasy scorer in all of fantasy this week.
It's gonna be ridiculous.
That's very possible.
The Cowboys have already done it. I think was it week 1 or 2 or something? They had
it was week
It was
one.
week one against the Giants.
I think they put up a 30 burger against the Giants or something.
They put up more points than any other fantasy player that week. So come to expect this with another matchup where the over-under total for a team total on the Giants is 10.5 this week. So that just tells you everything you need to know about. And I think it would be the under still on this. Ravens, Jets, Steelers, Saints coming in here. Seahawks, Raiders, Bills, Niners, and Browns on the back end of the list.
Yeah, I mean, as often is, you have a combination of some really good defenses and some really good matchups. Most of these are good defenses, though.
Yep.
The Jets at 3, facing Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders. I do think, I mean, the Jets defense absolutely balled out on Monday night against the Chargers. They deserved a win for sure. Unfortunately, they had, Zach Wilson and that offense on the other side, who couldn't get out of their own way with penalties and whatnot. But so the Jets up there, but Raiders are also up there because they face that Zach Wilson offensive led team of the Jets. So Raiders at number 7. You talked about the Saints. Rack, I threw your Steelers in there. You're welcome.
Yay.
Seahawks seem a little weird, but they're playing Washington, so they'll have at least like 5 sacks in the game. Because Washington drops back to pass every play.
Exactly. So there you go. Those are our rankings for defense. Joker, what about those T-Wolves? And yes, I know it's early. Honestly, they've been one of the most impressive teams for me this season, where I'm just like, wait, they're actually doing what they were supposed to do last season. They're figuring it out on defense, and they're one of the best defensive teams. Yeah.
They're playing well. I mean, they're 5-0 at home, 0-2 on the road. So haven't had to go out on the road much yet, but they beat Nuggets, Celtics at home. So
both handing them their first losses of the season. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Good stuff from the T-Wolves. I mean, we thought it was going to be a dumpster fire for a while, and then
I knew the T-Wolves are a tough matchup for the Nuggets.
They're very tough. I mean, Anthony Edwards was the one player that gave us the most trouble last season in the playoffs. So we both said that he was by far the hardest player that we had to go up against of even some of those other teams. It was crazy.
Cuban Benny, I don't know if we mentioned, but he said blood sugargate when it comes to Mark Andrews. And I agree.
Agreed.
We need to look into this. This is ridiculous.
It's blasphemy. So there you have it. That is what we have for you on our fantasy ranks. What do you think? Should we finish out this game, Sky? Do we have 10:25? We can do it. Let's go ahead. I'm going to pull up. This was not part of the plan tonight, so we will.
I'm going to do code yellow real quick, but you start us off.
Yeah, code yellow in the chat. Spam it while I set up. Guys, make sure again you're getting your fantasy lineup set before the games tomorrow and early on Sunday for the Germany game as well with the Patriots. So make sure you get those set. Otherwise, I will be posting all of these clips to YouTube, so make sure you go check those out as well.